Before we start, I made a new YouTube channel dedicated to anime videos and topics like that, so check it out. I'll be uploading on both this channel and the new one. Also, we got some new UGC items from the new Limbus Company Kanto with a bunch of customization options. The links are down below, and thanks again for helping me out. What's up guys, it's Punchy, and today we're here with the first patch coming from Operation Deep Healing. If you missed it, an official announcement was made in the Deepwoken Discord dedicating January to multiple patches focusing on fixing or polishing up content. We've had a lot of recent updates that have been buggy or content that was kinda just forgotten about, and they hope to fix some of that up in Operation Deep Healing. There's gonna be a lot of content to cover here, but I'll try to mention the highlights that really switch up the game. Anyway, as always, I recommend hopping into the game to check it out for yourself and reading up on the patch notes as well. Make sure to like and subscribe so I can hit 120k, and let's get into it. With an entirely new system, we have the addition of crews. Similar to the Authority Squad system, you can invite random Pathfinders that aren't in a faction into your crew and you can team up. This should be pretty interesting to complete events and gank other players with those that aren't in an origin. To go alongside this new system, a few new communication emotes have been added since Roblox kinda killed text chat. Apologize throws down your weapon, but it clears all combat tags. Show position highlights yourself. Challenge is visually a threat. Friendly is a skinwalker wave. Both leave and point are used to indicate orders, and team up is a gesture of peace. These are really interesting, and it's a bit more immersive since text chat might not be too usable with the current Roblox rules. We're diving back into the depths where the latest update brings surprising environmental reworks. The maps received some major content changes alongside smaller tweaks, and I'm excited to see how it all plays out. Around the depths layer 1, you should notice a whole bunch of new ecology around the map, which adds a bit more to the environment. Coral trees, rocks, and even just grass were added to multiple different areas, and it's a bit more fleshed out than before. Some areas look pretty cool now, like the Hellbell, Akira's hideout, but it's all furnished with these new plants and add-ons. The real star of the depths can be found on your way to the Diluvian mechanism. So the Coral Forest has been fully reworked and it looks absolutely amazing. This reworked area is covered in glowing bioluminescent purple plants that are completely different from anything that we've seen in Deepwoken's depths. The atmosphere here covers your screen in purple blue fog and particles, and it's really impressive to see them cook. When they talked about reworking the map, they didn't miss because this looks great. Here's a before and after comparison if you want to see what's up. Surfacing from the depths and heading east, there's been a rework to Monkey's Paw. It's kinda crazy since we probably said this 2 or 3 times since the game's release, but I think this one's here to stay. This island was a major concern for players in early Deepwoken since almost every single gank happened here, but it was kinda ruined by the weird Roblox terrain that you couldn't find anywhere else in the game. Anyway, it looks like they learned from the past and made some changes while keeping that classic theme, and I'm a fan. There's a lot of flat ground to fight on with a bunch of trees as well, but it might be the best rendition in this game's history of the island. Let me know your thoughts down below, but again, here's a comparison of before and after comparing the two. With a smaller map change, we can find ourselves at SONGSEEKER, where we got some crazy new building. There's this giant tuning fork arena on top of SONGSEEKER, and it looks kinda crazy. There's smaller furnishes around the area, but this is definitely the main focal point of the island. I'm not really sure if this is gonna be an arena for a mini-boss or a dungeon entrance, but SONGSEEKER, it's pretty cool now. Kinda related, with a new option regarding environmental controls, you can now adjust the audio of map weather sound effects, so if you don't want to hear rain, you can always just turn it off. On the support side, South American players finally get some love. So with Roblox's new regional servers, there is now an option to queue into South American Chime of Conflict lobbies. With this option, you're not guaranteed a local server every single time, but these new matchmaking lobbies should make it far more consistent. It's a big win for a huge part of the community, and I'm here for it. Now, let's talk progression. In this current update, rolling for talents and planning your build has never been easier. Open your menu and you'll notice the talent page got a rework, adding more space to your journal, with every talent neatly sorted into its own tree. Just hover over anything to see full descriptions. It's the same functionality as before, but it's way more organized. On top of the current talent display, there's a brand new option being the talent deck. If you click it, you'll see every single obtainable talent that you can roll with your current stats. If you meet a talent's requirements, it's going to show up, so there's no more guessing or checking online. Once you open the deck, you'll know exactly what you're eligible for and can roll in your build. Besides, inside the talent deck, we have a few options here that can speed up build making. In our talent deck, if we want to increase the chances of rolling a card, we can do so by clicking the favor option. This is completely free to do and essentially makes your favored card easier to roll. So instead of heading to a Mystic and paying for the service, these NPCs do not affect talents anymore since it's directly available from the menu. Besides just favoring cards, the talent deck also allows for much more. When you progress with aces, you can burn cards to remove them from your hand or freeze one to save it for later, but now you don't even need the card to appear in your hand first, you can burn it directly from the talent deck using an ace. On top of this, with the new Foresee Talent Ace feature, you can straight up guarantee a card appears in your next hand. This option will cost an ace, but it forces an appearance. These tools save a ton of time, make build planning way smoother, and honestly feel essential no matter what build you're running. Finally, there's also some smaller tweaks to talent info worth breaking down. Talents got a little bit of visual polish, and now they clearly display status effects, stat boosts, and which talent tree they belong to. You can hover over highlighted sections to get a quick explanation of the gameplay stats, almost like the in-menu encyclopedia. It's simple, but it's really nice quality of life. The difference between modern Deepwoken and its launch state is honestly insane, but in my opinion, more information about gameplay is always going to be a good thing as long as it's organized and easier to navigate. As for mantras, they also show up in your menu tab as well. This makes sense since it's all in the same place. Another tab was also added for factions in the menu, so you don't have to sit down anywhere to view your standing. So, directly speaking about progression, both the Trial of One and the Lone Warrior Origin have been changed. I don't really know if this is a buff or a nerf. Essentially, the Trial of One functions exactly the same with each wave, but the reward at the end is going to be much less. Instead of getting 7 levels for completing the trial, you only get 2, and that's about it. For most builds that are not the Lone Warrior Origin, this kind of sucks because it's slower, but if you did spawn in as a warrior, there's a different buff you can obtain. Completing the trial with the Origin will give you a permanent buff on your character with the mark of the Lone Warrior. This will boost your EXP progression when alone alongside a damage boost, and this only works if you're by yourself in a server without any other friends or allies. Nobody even picked this Origin before, but I guess we'll see what's up. Outside of the trial, you should notice that progression across the board is a little bit faster. For starters, from power 1 to 5, training for weapons and elements happens much faster since EXP gained for attributes is boosted at an early level. Also, there's new ways to get free experience points during your progression. Going through Hell mode before max level gives investment points, Voidwalker bounties give a point based on how many stars you have, even defeating a boss for the first time gives you free points. Authority Origin missions have also received bonus investment points on completion and a little bit of rank progress as well. Additionally, the Crucible event with the artifact and nearly every single quest in the game now grants investment points, so there's a lot to min-max. Progression across the board should be a little bit more diverse, and it's worth checking out. Next up, we're talking about weapons with new content and reworks to some of the old ones. Let's begin with some new innate weapon talents. The CANOR FANG now comes with a built-in talent called Clutch Recovery. When you're on low HP, every single weapon hit you land will heal you. Honestly, in use, it feels borderline game-breaking since it restores a percentage of your HP, but it's also pretty cool. This talent is going to reward tankier builds with high HP and resistance, and maybe, just maybe, the CANOR FANG won't be forgotten anymore. Next up, the Ritual Spear. It comes with a talent called Pierce Through, and on your critical, the first part is going to act normal, but the second part ignores auto parry frames. It could be solid if players aren't respecting your pressure, but honestly, I'm not sure if it's worth running this weapon. Onto an old meta pick, the Champion's Dagger. Its talent, Rat Spirit, boosts your critical damage when you're fighting multiple opponents. It's solid in general, but in a gank against the squad, that's where this thing really shines. With the Morning Star, we get Extended Trauma. Landing light or critical hits builds posture on your opponent, and that's kinda crazy. You're dealing real damage while also setting up a guard break at the same time, and that's a ton of pressure. The Apprentice Rapier even got a talent called Defensive Stance. The lower your HP is, the more parry frames you have, and this might be useful if the weapon wasn't so low in damage. The Inquisitor Rapier has a talent called Expeditionary Evasiveness. This talent just buffs up agility mantras, and it really has nothing to do with the weapon, so that's kinda busted. Legion CESTUS got a talent as well with Static Beatdown. Based on your Thunder recall investment, Shaky Block will improve when pressuring targets. This might be decent, but it's overall a weaker version of the other CESTUS options. Even the Halberd got a weapon talent with Spinal Splinter. Landing a backstab with this weapon just deals more true damage, and it might be kinda cracked. Moving on to some weird weapon fixes and critical changes, these aren't insane, but they fundamentally shift how the weapon can be used and fought against. With the Crypt Blade chain critical, you are now able to jump over its impact. The initial chain placement, instead of defending with a parry, we can simply jump at the same time to negate its damage. This is kinda crazy and maybe easy to do, so it might get buffs in the future. Up next, with the fundamental fix to the Shadow Hero Blade, the critical mobility is finally consistent. So for some reason, the distance you were able to travel with a crit was FPS based, meaning it could be far or short depending on lag. Luckily in this patch, it now has a consistent set distance you can move, which is more reliable to attack with and defend against. There's also a few other weapons that receive this change, but this was the most noticeable. That's enough weapon content for right now. Let's discuss some major changes of talent behavior. To start, FISHMAN has been fully reworked, with a little bit of its talent being added into the game's base kit. This talent reads, when unconscious, above 50% blood, you cannot drown at all, and you also get bonus HP from knocking players in the water. This is decent for ganks, and it should be a little bit more reliable than the duration cooldown from before. Besides this, the ability to grip players in water by pressing B is now a part of the base kit, allowing anybody to do this without even needing the talent. Let's talk about PvE. It was stated in the official announcement the Deepwoken team wanted to bridge the gap between PvE and PvP, so they changed a ton of talents to allow for that. Instead of talking about every single talent that changed, because there's a ton of them, I'll be discussing the new status effects in PvE that have been slapped on a ton of them. For starters, the attunement Bloodrend now has a viable status in PvE. In combat, you can hemorrhage enemies by draining their blood just by hitting mantras, chunking their HP by a fraction, and then going on cooldown. It's a burst of damage, kinda like Elden Ring's blood status, and this is decent to say the least. Besides this, many talents that were buffed today also got a new status called Sluggish. This status will proc when slowing enemies down in multiple different ways, but it will reduce their damage after being hit. This is decent for survivability, and it's on a ton of different talents used to slow people. Ether Sunder, another defensive status, reduces elemental damage from the effective mob, and it might be decent for bosses that also have a specific attunement. Another status called Stagger can be found as well, and this is all about posture. It's basically just a buff to your posture output against a specific target, so guard breaks in PvE are going to be a whole lot more common. Heal Boost, another status, improves the healing that you can obtain from enemies under anti-heal. So if you have a sustained PvE build, this is going to help you a ton, and that's really cool. There's a few smaller status effects here and there, and specific changes to talents that work a little bit differently, but I recommend checking it out for yourself in-game since there's just so much. Overall, the sentiment here, most PvP talents that were recently unviable have received stats up or even a status in PvE, which might increase their viability. Also, for all heavy weapons, every single heavy that had 0 end lag on its attack got slapped with a nerf. Every single heavy weapon in the game will now have at least 0.1 end lag on M1s, since they kinda rule the game in the overworld. We'll see what happens in the future, but heavy weapons, they're kinda nerfed. So for right now, that's about it, but leave your thoughts down below about all of these changes and hop into the game with some Battle Royale. Thanks once again to all the supporters who motivate me daily and directly help out the channel because it means a lot. If you want to join as a member for my channel, go down below, but besides that, my personal Discord, Guild Discord, and my UGC group are linked down below, so check them out. Thanks once again, and make sure to like and subscribe. It's punchin' time.